You are sitting on the floor, your face just inches away from your dog's, and you're pouring your heart out. You're telling them about your day, the frustrations of your job, or perhaps you're just whispering how much you love them. You watch their ears perk up, their head tilt with a seemingly profound understanding, and you feel a deep sense of connection. You assume that because they recognize the sound of your voice and react to the cadence of your words, they are following the story of your life. But if you could step inside their ears for just 1 second, you would realize that the conversation you think you're having is a beautiful, tragic illusion. While you are speaking in sentences, your dog is navigating a world of acoustic texture that has almost nothing to do with the words you've spent your life learning. There's a hidden psychological frequency in your voice that you aren't even aware you're transmitting. And once you understand what they are actually hearing, you'll realize that your dog knows your secrets better than your closest human friends ever could. Imagine you are trying to teach your dog a new command, like stay or come. You say the word clearly, with authority, and when they don't listen, you assume they are being stubborn or that they've simply forgotten their training. But the twist is that to a dog, the word is often the least important part of the signal. Research into canine linguistics suggests that dogs process human speech in a way that prioritizes the prosody, the melody, pitch, and emotional rhythm over the vocabulary. When you say, stay, you think you're giving a command, but what they really hear is the microscopic vibration of your current state of mind. If your voice has a hint of frustration or a slight upward inflection of uncertainty, they don't hear a rule, they hear a question. They are reacting to the song of your voice, and if the melody doesn't match the instruction, they aren't being disobedient. They are simply confused by the conflicting data. It's a moment of profound psychological honesty that reminds us that we can't lie to our dogs with our words, because they are constantly listening to the truth of our breath. This acoustic sensitivity goes even deeper when we consider the everyday chatter we use to fill the silence. You might be narrating your morning routine or complaining about the weather, assuming that the specific words are just background noise for them. However, what is really happening is that your dog is performing a vocal autopsy on your emotional stability. They are one of the few species capable of distinguishing between high arousal and low arousal sounds across species lines. When you speak, they aren't looking for a subject or a verb. They are scanning for the tiny cracks in your voice that signal stress, joy, or exhaustion. They can hear the slight tightening of your vocal cords that happens seconds before you even realize you're upset. In their world, you aren't a storyteller. You are a living, breathing instrument, and they are the most sensitive audience on Earth. Every time you speak, you're inadvertently giving them a status report on your soul. And that is a level of intimacy that goes far beyond any human vocabulary. But as you begin to see your voice as a bridge rather than a tool for information, you start to realize that your dog has been reading you in high definition for years. It is a perspective shift that turns every sit and every good boy into a moment of shared resonance. If you're finding this shift as fascinating as I do, you might want to join us on this journey of discovery. By following along and joining this community, you're not just learning about dogs. You're becoming a more conscious guardian for the soul that listens to you more intently than anyone else. It's through these small realizations that we build a bond that isn't just based on proximity, but on a deep, rhythmic synchronicity. We are learning to speak the language they already know, and it's a journey that only gets more surprising the deeper we go. To consider the baby talk we all use. You find yourself using a high-pitched, sing-song voice when you're excited to see them. The common assumption is that this is just a silly human habit, perhaps even a bit embarrassing if a neighbor overhears. But what's really happening is that you are accidentally tapping into a biological survival mechanism. This dog-directed speech mirrors the way we speak to infants, and it's scientifically proven to capture a dog's attention more effectively than a neutral tone. To a dog, that high-pitched melodic frequency isn't just cute. It's a signal of safety and non-aggression. It mimics the sounds of a nursing mother or a playful peer. When you speak like this, you aren't just being silly, you're telling their nervous system that they are safe to drop their guard. It is a moment of deep, primal reassurance that bypasses the logic of the brain and speaks directly to the heart of their instinct. But there is a darker side to this auditory connection that we often ignore. Have you ever noticed that your dog seems to get anxious or low when you're having a heated argument with someone else, even if you aren't raising your voice at the dog? You might assume they are just sensitive to the noise. But the twist is that dogs can hear the frequency of conflict. They are incredibly attuned to the sharp, staccato rhythms of human anger. Even if the words are whispered, the shape of the sound changes. To a dog, an argument sounds like a predator in the woods. It is a chaotic, unpredictable soundscape that triggers their fight-or-flight response. They aren't just bothered by the volume. They are disturbed by the breakdown of harmony in their pack. When you argue, you are essentially vibrating with a frequency that tells your dog the world is no longer safe. Understanding this makes you realize that your voice is the atmospheric pressure of their entire world. What's even more incredible is the way dogs hear omission. Have you ever noticed your dog reacting to a word you didn't say, or getting excited just because you paused in a certain way? We think they're psychic, but what's actually happening is that they have memorized the rhythmic map of your day. They know the specific silence that precedes you grabbing your keys. They know the exact breath you take before you decide it's time for a walk. They aren't reading your mind. They are reading the tempo of your life. For a dog, your words are just landmarks in a much larger landscape of sound and rhythm. They hear the music of your routine and they are always waiting for the next beat. It is a level of observation that is almost haunting, reminding us that for them there is no such thing as just words. This brings us to a layer of the canine mind that most owners never even think to explore, the concept of vocal mirroring. Have you ever noticed that your dog's barks or whines seem to match the pitch and intensity of your own voice? The common assumption is that they're just joining in. But research suggests that dogs actually try to tune their vocalizations to match the frequency of their owners as a way of strengthening social cohesion. They are trying to find a common note with you. It is a beautiful biological attempt at empathy. They are literally trying to vibrate at the same frequency as you so they can understand what it feels like to be you. When they howl, when you sing or whine when you cry, they aren't just making noise, they are trying to sync their soul to yours. The powerful insight that reframes everything we've discussed is the realization that while your dog may not understand the meaning of your words, they understand the meaning of you. They don't need a dictionary, because they have a direct line to your emotional state. We spend our lives worrying about what to say, but to a dog, the most important thing you ever say is the way you feel when you're with them. Your voice is the soundtrack to their entire existence. It is the sound of their safety, the sound of their joy, and the sound of their home. When you finally stop worrying about the words and start focusing on the song you're singing to them, you realize that the most profound conversations you'll ever have are the ones that happen in total silence. In the end, we have to recognize that your dog isn't listening to your stories. They are listening to your heart. They don't care about your vocabulary, your grammar, or your logic. They care about the warmth in your tone and the steady rhythm of your presence. They are the only beings in the world who will listen to you talk for hours without ever judging a single word you say, because for them, the words are just the gift wrap for the love inside. When you look at your dog today and you start to speak, remember that they aren't waiting for a sentence. They are waiting for you to invite them into your harmony. And the next time you talk to your dog, don't just use your mouth, use your energy. Because in the secret world of canine hearing, your silence says more than 1,000 words ever could. Your dog doesn't hear what you say. They hear who you are.